So, Owl House Season 2 has been pretty good so far, right? Without question, the show has gone through a serious jump in regards to quality, and has, in my opinion, fixed some issues I had with Season 1, and okay, enough bullshit. Why is no one talking about Amphibia still? Hey, for the record, we're going to be going into literally every single spoiler there currently is for this show, so like, if you want a review that's generally spoiler-free, I already got you covered, and if you haven't seen the show, go watch it. It's all on Disney+. What are you doing here? Amphibia Season 2 was without a doubt one of my favorite experiences with a show in recent memory. I haven't had this much enjoyment for a show in a good minute. The show already had its hooks in me with an incredibly solid first season, but holy shit! I would have never expected the quality jump this show took going into its second season. This season alone made it jump up my favorite list dramatically and made me become a stan for the show. This season made the show somehow top Gravity Falls for me. What? I really mean that. So allow me to go into an absurd amount of detail why this season of the show was absolutely phenomenal. We're gonna go over a lot of the same sections of the last video, starting with, of course, the plot. Remember how Season 1 was effectively mostly filler, with a couple of plot episodes and key moments here and there?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Season 2 does a full-on 180 with the ratio of filler to plot. You get a few filler here and there, but most of the season is on maximum overdrive with the plot. This season is almost entirely plot-focused, and the plot in question is fucking insane. With the mountain pass around the valley no longer keeping us trapped in Wartwood, we finally have the opportunity to fully explore Amphibia.
I just feel trapped.
And we can finally go full force in the quest on figuring out whatever the hell the music box is and how to get Anne and her friends back home, despite the locations of said friends being completely unknown at the start of the season. This quest quickly leads them to Neutopia, after only a few short stops at a Zelda Shrine, the Mystery Shack, and some wacky filler in between. The episode they arrive in Neutopia is the first of multiple 30-minute specials this season has. They waste no time getting into the story and plot. There are so many things established and showcased throughout this season that start once we arrive here. The initial episode finally sheds some light onto the season-long question: where the hell is Marcy?
Hello there.
There's no way to sugarcoat this, so I'm just gonna say it. Once Marcy is introduced, the show goes from great to incredible.
He was incredible!
After a few semi-filler episodes that are completely fun and totally wholesome, it dives right back into the plot. It gives you enough fun and processing time between the big plot nukes. Episode 10 shows us the book.
The book. Give me the book.
This fucking book threw the entire fandom on its head with the few seconds of it actually being shown on screen. Because, by the way, this show has a secret translatable language that you were only able to read thanks to this fucking menu that is on screen for like 2 seconds in a previous episode. A filler episode, no less. The information in this book leads the creepy CGI Fwagon crew on the next step of the journey. A temple quest. After some frightening implications from good old Andreas Leviathan, we get into the temple episodes, and oh my frog, the temple episodes, minus the third one, are amazing. Without question, some of the best episodes in the show. Each of the temple episodes specifically focuses on hyper character development for each of the girls, whilst building on the lore and setup for the season finale at the same time. They waste literally zero time with these episodes. The temples didn't fuck around in the slightest. The girls are presented so much moral dilemma with these temples that take already well-developed characters and amplify them by 1,000, forcing them to tackle legit flaws in their characters. Unless you're the third temple, which didn't bring out any moral dilemmas, just had you fight a fucking rock man. With the third temple episode specifically, all 3 of the girls are finally united for the first time since the music box was opened. And yeah, these few still got some issues to work on. Of course, this season continues on with a very harshly real plotline about toxic friendships, and like Season 1, it's handled with a lot of maturity. Obviously, after the events of Reunion, we're not on what we would call good terms with Sasha, and honestly, after what happened, who would? She did try to kill everyone.
One time! Nobody likes you, bitch!
After getting the band back together, we finally go back to Wartwood to hang out for a couple episodes before the unholy events of the finale take place. The plot this season overall was an incredible step in the right direction. I was already invested with season 1 obviously, but this season's plot just did everything right and amplified my investment by 1,000. The season got me emotionally invested in the show as well, and it usually takes me 3 seasons minimum to get me that invested in a show. So major props to you, Amphibia crew, you're doing great. Obviously, all this plot talk must bring up the topic of payoff for the stuff in season 1 and set up for the show going forward into its final season. And how did the show do in regards to those this season? Amazing! Going into this season, a lot of payoff for season 1 happens, obviously, and holy crap, some of it is insane.
You're not gonna regret it. The payoff is huge.
The tiniest details from early episodes of the show get remembered going into this season, and with how much the lore is expanded this season, the show is making it very obvious that it wants its viewers to pay attention to literally everything. I mentioned this last review, of course, but I cannot emphasize how good the execution of the eye glows for the Calamity Gems have been. Literally 5 frames in episode 1. 5 frames leads to the insanity that happens in the finale. And hey, we actually got a real Sasha eye glow in the latter half of season 2, unlike whatever the hell this thing in Reunion is. Yeah, I looked like a clown last review, unfortunately. Newtopia was mentioned a couple times throughout season 1, and of course in season 2 we go there and see various locations within the great city that were previously mentioned. Such as Newtopia University, which was referenced in literally one stray line of dialogue in Fiddle Me This.
My daughter just got accepted to Newtopia University.
That's the big league right there.
I'm not sure if this next one counts, but I think it's funny enough to mention as my good old buddy Headband Guy noticed it while editing. In the season 1 episode Family Shrub, Hot Pup makes a random joke about how a family member was the king of Amphibia. And then when we get to Newtopia, behold, they actually turn out to have a king.
Well, duh. We're not anarchists, Anne.
Speak for yourself.
Speaking of the king, we see him have Mossman in his basement, which raises a whole lot of questions while simultaneously adding relevance to a past episode. Alongside payoff, there's a fuck ton of setup for the lore going forward. Similar to season 1, there's so much little shit set up. The theory game for this show is fucking insane. It's honestly comparable to Gravity Falls. Like I mentioned earlier, this show has a secret translatable language that's obviously so important going forward. If we ever see this ancient amphibia language in season 3, we have the tools necessary to translate it. This ancient language gave us access to the prophecy that quite literally everyone has been making theories upon theories about. There's so much shit going on in this show. I love it. So freaking excited to see how all the setup in season 2 pays off in season 3. The show continues to do phenomenal in every category, but obviously with any show, there's one category that must be absolutely prioritized, as it's the key to holding it all together. That, of course, is the characters. Holy fuck, the character writing for this show is still incredible, and the maturity of the character writing gets really intense this season. All the characters are lovable and enjoyable still, obviously, but let's go over the characters this season specifically highlights. Some plotlines really dark and mature, some finally getting development, period. I think we all know who we gotta start with. He's right outside your house, after all. Let's talk about what this season did in regards to Hoppadiah Planter.
Come on. I'm sick of waiting on you.
Dude, I thought this show was supposed to be the funny frog show. This shit made me cry. So after the rain gave us the explanation on why Hot Pop buried the music box at the end of Bizarre Bazaar, and, ouch. It's genuinely super dark and it hurts. So Sprig and Polly's parents, you know them? Neither does Sprig and Polly, because they fucking died when they were really young. And our good old lad Hot Pop blames himself for all of it. Yeah, this show about talking frogs gave a character literal survivor's guilt. This literal tragedy explains so much about Hoppadiah's character as well. Primarily his intense paranoia and his want to unalive himself from this cruel realm called life.
It's okay, kids. Just pick a corner for me to pass away in. That one'll do.
Yeah, this subplot is probably one of the most mature of the show. So many of Hot Pop's past actions make so much sense with this new context added. why he wants the best for Sprig and Polly's future no matter what, why he had a literal book of rules for the creepy CGI Flagon road trip in hell, even his attachment to the old ways. And even when Hot Pup reveals the truth about why he buried the music box, he adds a whole new layer of guilt to himself. He promised he'd never let his family down again. Ultimately, he let Anne down, and has been beating himself up about it ever since, even going as far as to, again, throw his life down.
I've already had a good life.
Have I mentioned that this is a fucking Disney cartoon? This is the same network that aired Star vs. the Forces of Garbage.
Trash. Yeah, I love trash. Yum, yum, trash.
What a comeback. With how this show expanded the mystery and development of his character, I wonder how well the season would handle a character that practically had no existing development.
I never thought that it'd be so simple, but I found a way,
This season, Polly finally gets some development. Up until this point, Polly-centric episodes have been, less than stellar. But all of that changes with the introduction of one specific character.
Ready or not, here he comes. Quake with fear, you mortal fools! Bow down before the awesome might of...
The ultimate Chad Frobo. With Frobo's introduction, Polly finally steps up from the morally fucked child role she's had up until this point, and has some form of responsibility with their bond, acting as a big sister to the Iron Giant. They weirdly complement each other despite being the most random character combination I've ever seen.
Parkour, parkour!
Ooh, bit of a property damage there.
For the first time in Amphibia history, Polly has relevance. I don't even need to explain why Frobo is important, obviously. Polly has always been overshadowed in the main cast.
Join me, Sprig, Anne, and the one in the bucket, come on!
Even with the new cast, such as Marcy, they completely went past Polly's importance within their first episode. This isn't limited to the main cast either. Even some of the side characters, such as General Unance, Scourge of the Sand Wars, defeater of Ragnar the Wretched, and the youngest newt to receive the rank of general in the Great Newtopian Army, had more importance in the story. Actively having her befriend this literal integral plot man was a great way to finally give her some of the spotlight she was lacking. And it was somehow written perfectly, by having their pairing emit this really fun vibe. But now, let's shift the focus to someone who's not having the best vibes after the events of Reunion. Without question, Anne has the best written development in this season. I'd argue some of the best cartoon protagonist writing in recent years, period. Her development this season is insane, alongside being extremely relatable. After the events of Reunion, Anne reasonably develops some trauma. Much like Hot Pup, Anne starts to develop extreme paranoia about the situation she's stuck in. Even when she finally finds Marcy, Anne is in a literal state of panic the moment there's any sign of danger, because Anne is genuinely terrified that something like what happened to Sasha could happen to Marcy now.
Ugh, why won't you just let me go?
Because I just got you back, okay?
This newfound sense of paranoia greatly influences her actions this season, as she starts to prioritize the needs of others before herself much more often, really thinking with her heart more. Like how in the Second Temple, Anne literally interrupts the fucking gem getting charged because she thought Marcy and the Planters were in danger.
Teamwork begins with two people trusting each other.
Despite developing all this legit anxiety, she's still an extremely enjoyable and fun character. I mentioned this last review, of course, but Anne still remains a perfect balance of fun and serious.
Hey, was anyone gonna tell me I have leaves in my hair?
No. But without question, my favorite development in regards to Anne this season is how she essentially finds herself while in Amphibia. After spending literal months in this wacky frog world, she's been able to reflect on herself as a person and the events that have happened to her so far. Finally able to be happy with who she is as a person now. Because Sasha isn't a constant influence in her life anymore, she's finally allowed to be around genuinely good people outside of Sasha's controlling influence. She's finally able to really be herself, especially now that people in her life truly support her, such as the Planters. Seeing that the main demographic for this show ranges from tweens to young adults, I think this type of plotline about finding yourself is extremely relatable to the audience. I know it is for me. After a full 2 seasons, Anne is still, without question, one of the most relatable protagonists I've ever seen. And definitely my favorite character of the show currently. We Anne in this household.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Seeing how well Anne is doing without Sasha, I wonder how well Sasha is doing without Anne. She's not doing good at all. My God. Oh boy, what could I possibly say about our favorite blonde psychopath?
Teamwork begins with two people trusting each other.
No, the blonde female psychopath.
I'm gonna destroy the magic.
No, the other blonde female psychopath. Christ, how many are there?
One time! I tried to kill them one time!
There you go. Yeah, Sasha's got some issues. This entire season, she's hell-bent on control, doubling down on everything after what happened in Reunion. Even controlling Grime, who was her superior last season. Granted, Grime did go through a one-episode Endgame Thor-esque arc, where he's a lazy little shit with depression after losing almost everything with the destruction of Toad Tower.
What do you think is coursing through my veins right now?
Cheese whiz?
But luckily gets out of it thanks to Sasha's constant control and will to defeat General Yunan, Scourge of the Sand Wars, defeater of Ragnar the Wretched, and the youngest Newt to receive the rank of General in the Great Newtopian Army. Sasha effectively brute forces everything this season. Even the one temple episode she actually takes part in, with a good old Dragon Ball Z reference to boot. The point being, it doesn't matter if it's talking to another person like normal or literally fighting a giant magical rock demon. If Sasha wants something, she will find a way to brute force her way to get it. Sasha is many things. A control freak, extremely toxic, a bitch, but she sure as hell is one thing. Determined. Probably the only positive character trait she currently has. Even after reuniting with Anne after actual months apart, her toxicity still seeps through. Can't even have a nice dinner meals without her wanting to freak out over something because it's not what she personally wants.
And if I'm not in control at all times, I'll go crazy.
Somebody has issues.
In regards to character, Sasha is Anne's complete opposite, and it makes the plotline of their shattered friendship extremely tragic. Anne wants Sasha to improve and be a better person, and I think almost every viewer of the show does as well. The only person that doesn't want it at this point seems to be Sasha herself. It's weird how I can be invested in the plot of this literal psychopath. Despite being such an agonizing character to watch, there's potential for so much good. Potential she flat out refuses to even acknowledge. All things considered, Sasha isn't exactly doing the best. I wonder how Anne's other friend is doing. This season finally introduces Marcy, a main character despite not existing in season 1 at all. And was the wait worth it?
Yes, definitely, absolutely.
Marcy rose to fan favorite character status effectively overnight, thanks to every single frame she's on screen being pure perfection. Okay, maybe that is a tad of an exaggeration. Reminder, this section was written by Headband Guy. In all seriousness, Marcy is one of the most enjoyable characters in the whole show. Her freakishly high IQ, no offense to Anne, is a welcome addition. Her obsession with fantasy makes her vastly too relatable to the current generation, as well as helping her extremely fun and free-going attitude flourish. Like, just listen to her theme. It's just a fun bop that really helps set the vibe whenever she's on screen. Like seriously, look at her introduction scene. Batman grappling hooks in with a freaking crossbow, only to fall flat on her face. Flawless. She actively has so much fun in Amphibia. It just feels like she's enjoying a fun game, which is why her involvement has this fun aura to it. She's also quite literally integral to the plot. From minute 1 this girl is on screen, plot relevance is everything. The entire goal from the beginning of season 2 included finding Marcy, as stated in episode 1. When we finally found her, she displayed more relevance with eye glowiness, translating a dead language entirely for today, and of course, her being tied directly to Andreas Leviathan.
Detecting multiple Leviathan class life forms in the region. Are you certain whatever you're doing is worth it?
No.
Right off the bat, fun character. Big ol' lad with King Neptune vibes. A fun boomer vibe, if you would.
And here's a thumb for you, Anne.
He just wants to help these girls get home and happens to know a lot about the music box. Totally no bad implications whatsoever.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
Yeah, so this guy, kinda evil. Despite not being in the show that many episodes as of right now, he uses every moment he's on screen to either add to the fun, lovable facade he puts on for our main characters, or simultaneously advancing whatever his plan to his cyborg nightmare master that lives in his basement is. It goes without saying, as the big bad of the series currently, this man breathes plot relevance and mystery. having a relation to all the old ancient technology we're introduced this season, and obviously whatever the hell his master is, and whatever prophecy he's trying to undo. Can we just address how unique of a villain's motivation that is? So often, big bad guys are trying to prevent a prophecy from happening. You know, the whole cliche, the good guys win, the bad guy loses, that kind of deal. But that one simple word, undone, has so many more implications. He also uses the word revenge when talking to his master, so clearly something happened in the past we're unaware of. But just the mere idea of undoing a prophecy brings such a breath of fresh air and feel of horror to Andrias' motivations. How does one even do that? This guy wastes zero screen time to get the plot moving along. Literally, his introduction scene goes,
Delightful! But now, let's get down to business, shall we?
This guy is pure plot and fun. Incredible character. Totally doesn't do anything horrible in the finale. Nope, great guy. Okay, I think that finally wraps it up for characters. Now let's get into easily one of the most consistent attributes about the whole show. The goddamn comedy.
Comedy is subjective.
Okay, yeah, oh my frog, you guys, this show is still fucking hilarious. I have no idea how else to explain it other than giving more examples. Call me unoriginal, I don't care.
I'm the Time Lord now.
Did you know that this thing has a laser? Well, bam!
I'll have what he's having.
Nice! Using Toadie's stone body as a shield.
Wait, he's stone?
Play the forbidden note.
With all the new characters this season introduces, the already insane comedy level increases as we get more character dynamics to mess around with. Some of which are really strange character combinations on paper, but are absolutely hilarious in execution. The episode The Dinner, there's a really strange character combination of Hop Pop and Grime, but it leads to some of the funniest fucking banter imaginable.
How many toads does it take to screw in a mushroom light?
How many?
None. They prefer utter darkness and the smell of blood.
The show has genuinely mastered comedic timing and the actors deliver their lines so well. I literally don't know how a show can get this funny. It's astounding. This might be one of the funniest shows ever since potentially Chowder. And that was a comedy-focused show. Amphibia isn't a full comedy-focused show, and that's a factor into why its comedy works so well. It doesn't use comedy as a crutch to fall back on like modern Marvel or Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Amphibia knows when to allow its comedic scenes to play out in full shitpost fashion, and when for the comedy to take a step back entirely, so big serious shit doesn't have the tone get butchered. Also, because I brought up The Dinner, look at this fucking meme of an official promo art for the episode.
Look at it!
Absolute perfection. This is the best example of why the crew for this show is fucking awesome. The crew for this show has such a level of care for what they're making, it's just amazing. And that's especially obvious with the next section. Just like last season, the world building and references within the show are fucking top tier. The absolute list of information the show adds to the show's lore is genuinely surprising. Like in season 1, the lore for the show was essentially hee hoo hoo, they sure are frogs, look at them go, there's a tower over there, ooh. But in season 2, the show's lore essentially becomes
You didn't have to cut me off.
Season 1 gave us basically table scraps in regards to the lore of Amphibia, while Season 2 is an all-you-can-eat buffet at fucking Olive Garden. Seriously, where do we start? Oh yeah, how about the fucking temples? Alongside being very important story episodes, the temples are such a cool addition to the world, each having a theme depending on which gem and trait the temple is focused on. Alongside the introduction of a literal dead language that we can translate, we also get more clear depictions of the image hidden behind the show's logo in the intro, in the first temple episode specifically. And how about all the Breath of the Wild parallels, huh? I know I made a dozen jokes about it in my reactions, but the whole vibe of Frobo as well as the ancient factory he was created in just screams Breath of the Wild Guardian vibes. Ancient robots from a long-gone civilization? Come on, man, it's amazing. Speaking of civilizations, we get a whole new one with the Newts in Utopia, as well as learning so much more about the Toads and their various groups. So you know how in the Season 1 finale, the whole conflict was around battling the Toads at Toad Tower? Yeah. Turns out there's another 3 Toad factions out there, all with their own towers as well, so that's fun. Newtopia's impact on the world building is very obvious. Remember the freaking Moss Man and these weird ghost creatures that appear in a single episode each? Yeah, their origins are also explained, but more on that later. Now, if we want to go over references, how about the pile of video game references this show has? The show absolutely wins for how obscure some of these are. Our shiny coconut crab overlord, Fearless Productions, pointed this out on Twitter, but there's like one shot in the second temple episode that has the freaking razor sword from Majora's Mask. This is the kind of absurd reference Nintendo nerds like me live for. However, if we want to talk about references, we have to talk about one of the greatest crossover episodes ever made.
What is this? A crossover episode? Yes.
Ah, Wax Museum. Sweet, sweet Wax Museum. I fucking love this episode for obvious reasons. If you're a fan of Gravity Falls, this episode was literally made for you. Our good old lad Alex Hirsch decided he wanted a cameo in Amphibia, but oh no. A simple background character in one episode wouldn't have been enough to satisfy the literal being of chaos.
I've got some children I need to make into corpses!
Alex Hirsch effectively takes over the whole show in this episode, and there is absolutely zero subtlety in the slightest in regards to all the references here. The Curiosity Hut, a literal mural to Bill Cipher in the carpet, the fucking clown painting, Shmebulok, the hidden codes, the dead curator, and of course, the god himself, Frog Seuss.
You been licking yourself again, Frog Seuss?
Caught me again, Mr. Pons.
This episode is literal perfection. It even caused Headman Guy to have an actual spit take. One of the funnest experiences of watching an episode of any show ever, as well as having small but very interesting implications with the Skip Man they acquired this episode.
Did you know that this thing has a laser? Wah-bam!
The staff for the show put so much fucking care and detail with all the world building elements and all the references they continue to make. It really personalizes the show immensely. But why talk about one aspect of the visuals when we can talk about them all? Holy shit! This show is freaking beautiful. By leaving the valley, the character designers really get to stretch their legs and come up with some god-tier designs in regards to overall landscapes, creatures, and some of the new towns we've seen on the creepy CGI Fwagon journey. And I cannot emphasize this enough, but oh my frog, the background shots for this show are fucking breathtaking. Yeah, the characters themselves aren't the most complex designs in existence, but I literally could care less with background shots this incredible. Look at the shot near the end of the Planters Check-In. Just a generally fun, mostly filler episode, and they felt the need to go this hard on the visuals.
Everyone says the view from the top of the indoor Ferris wheel will change your life.
Yes, it did, Mabel. Holy shit. The lighting overall has drastically improved this season as well. So many shots are drastically improved thanks to the lighting being changed to fit the overall mood. And then of course, there's the goddamn temples. The temples are also incredibly unique in regards to overall design, having some of the coolest shots in the show so far, and the colors of each gem correspond with their temples and help amplify the visuals. Despite being the weakest temple episode, the third temple, without question, has the coolest visuals thanks to the pink colors blending with the volcano aesthetic freaking perfectly. The visuals also help amplify the mood in some scenes. Two various obvious examples would be the ending of Hopping Mall and literally the whole episode of After the Rain. The dark lighting with the slightly reddish pink glow of Amphibia's moon during the end of Hopping Mall makes such a unique look as this heart-to-heart takes place. And in After the Rain's case, it's literally gloomy and stormy all episode, really hitting home how depressing the vibe of this episode is. With how solid the writing has been this season, combined with how great the visuals have been, it greatly amplifies this next section. So Amphibia overall is a very fun, vibey show, with a good old tad of mystery thrown in for good measure. It doesn't go into emotional scenes that often, but when it does... Yeah, I mentioned this for a few scenes earlier, but when this show wants to emotionally hurt you, it's gonna do literally everything in its power to make that pain sting as much as humanly possible. Seriously, this show gets really fucking depressing at times. From a frog ridden with guilt about his dead family, to genuinely one of the most heartbreaking lines I've ever heard in anything.
You know, I've always wondered, can you miss someone you never actually knew? Oh, hey, who left this bowl of onions here?
Not to mention the list of shit that occurs in True Colors, but let's not worry about that yet. The show has mastered the tone when it comes to the emotional scenes. Not a single emotional beat has missed yet. If you can make me actively cry on the first viewing of something, you have truly achieved something. I am not that much of an emotional person, so when you get me to that point, it is fucking earned. Amphibia does a really good job at handling its overall tone throughout the series. As previously mentioned, the visuals greatly help, but they have nothing on how the tone is set through. Holy fuck, the music still slaps so hard, you guys. With the show getting into the swing of Season 2 with Marcy and Andreas' introductions, we essentially have all of our various character motifs and themes going forward. The music was already incredible in the first season, but it's this season where they start to genuinely pop off with different versions of character themes to fit various situations. Such as having different renditions of Sasha's theme every time there's a scene to portray the mental battle she's having with herself this season. Something very interesting to note in regards to the main motifs of the three girls is that various parts of their themes actually line up together to make a new original song. I don't know what relevance this has now, but perhaps there will be a moment late in the show where the girls finally come together for something big and this plays. Really excited to see the potential insanity of this discovery. As a musical nerd, this makes me whoo. This season also has a bunch of new original music for the literal list of new locations we visit this season, such as Newtopia and, of course, the temples. The music in the temples gives off that ethereal and mystery vibe. The show's fairy tale-like feel is greatly heightened here. Seriously, every single temple was so fucking incredible to visit. Before I forget to mention it, this season also introduced Frobo, my beloved. And every single piece of music attached to him is so unique and catchy as fuck. Really giving off the vibe of how he's connected to the ancient technology. The music reflects this perfectly. The show also has a lot more quiet themes for the intensely emotional scenes this season brings. The absolutely heartbreaking rendition of the show's main theme for the ending of Hopping Mall. The tragic theme ridden with guilt as Hop Pop explains why he buried the music box in After the Rain. And obviously, some key scenes in True Colors we'll go over soon. This season also took the music up a notch by having two completely original songs with lyrics sung in-universe by our characters, both of which being insane for each character they're associated with. Heartstomper is an absolute fucking jam and explains a lot on Sasha's personality.
I can keep this up forever if you're trying to feel better, take it up with someone else.
The other song being No Big Deal, an absolutely incredible song in regards to music and being a very important moment for Anne's development, as she's the one who wrote the song. The song goes into about how she's finally found herself, and it is absolutely beautiful from a storytelling perspective, despite some lines aging very poorly.
Killer birds, but it's no big deal.
And of course, the song fucking slaps.
It's no big deal, yeah, no big deal.
No Big Deal and Heartstomper become secondary themes for both Sasha and Anne going forward. This is demonstrated both casually and very obviously in the episode that follows Battle of the Bands. One of the most dramatic episodes of a show I've seen in my entire life. Oh boy, True Colors. Isn't this episode freaking fun? No, oh my frog, no! This episode is pure fucking insanity, and honestly, only having one section for it wouldn't be fair. So let's go over all the big shit this episode does, starting again with our favorite blonde psychopath.
You'd be so much cuter if you just bled a little more.
Okay, really? This is just getting out of hand now. So the first half of True Colors is almost exclusively focused on the big attack on Newtopia Sasha and Grime have been planning for almost this entire season. And after being blatantly lied to yet again, Anne says single-handedly one of the most satisfying lines in the entire show at this point.
You're a horrible person, and I am done being friends with you.
Sasha totally takes this well, and even tries to send Anne back to Earth out of pure spite, but gets completely played because she has literally no idea how the box works. Weirdly, no one does at this point. And finally calling Sasha out on her bullshit does create an interesting domino effect, as this causes one of the few self-reflection scenes for Sasha in the show currently.
What if Anne's right? What if I am a horrible person?
You are! You are! Oh my god!
Now, as someone who's been preaching for Sasha redemption since her freaking introduction episode, it's about time this psychopath starts having some more self-reflection. Obviously, she is nowhere near redeemed. Let's be real, this is gonna be a plotline for season 3, hopefully. But hey, it's a start finally. Said self-reflection scene leads to Sasha and Grime finding out that Andres is actually a horrific being we need to kill, and they both basically just drop/change their invasion plans on the spot.
If it is, it's a really good thing we stopped him.
Changing their priorities to go after just Andreas, understandably. Sasha goes to warn Anne about Andreas, and Anne, understandably, doesn't want to hear any more of Sasha's bullshit. Despite this being, unfortunately, one of the few times Sasha is telling the truth about something. Yay! A sword fight between them breaks out, and despite the fact that Sasha has way more experience of combat and is on defensive the whole time because she's actually trying to do something good for once, Anne completely kicks Sasha's ass. And I know this is so unrelated to this section, but can we just address that little wholesome boy Sprig actually defeated Grime in battle? Slingshots for the fucking win.
But which trusty slingshot?
Unfortunately, this brief victory over Sasha and Grime is very hollow feeling, because now that these two are dealt with, it's time for Andreas to reveal his true colors to our protagonist. Holy fuck, this guy is evil. Like, evil, evil. After receiving the music box from Anne and totally not looking suspicious as fuck while he's waiting for it, the man drops the whole charade he's been putting on for centuries and just drops a fuck ton of information in regards to some of his origins.
We owe a lot to buffaloes. Pretty pictures in 8th grade history books.
Turns out his ancestors were fucking conquerors. Like that wasn't obvious from the line in Day at the Aquarium.
They were peaceful explorers.
You shut the fuck up!
And while it's not confirmed, it's heavily implied that the boss man he has in his basement and the weird demon creatures are from some of the worlds he's conquered. So that's fun. And then for the sake of showing off his power, he fucking nukes a Toad Tower.
Nope.
Wow. If I had a nickel for every Amphibia season finale where a Toad Tower explodes,
I'd have 2 nickels.
This man is actively evil on screen for what? 11 minutes? And the amount of shit this actual monster tries to do is fucking insane. Man gives his whole monologue, emotionally fucks with the characters, says the most casual line ever.
You guys are serious. Okay.
And then immediately gets into fighting the main characters. Can we just address how fucking cool Andreas' sword is? What's a fucking fire sword gonna do? The man quickly spreads everyone across the room in like one attack and goes on a literal rampage attempting to pick characters off one by one. Man tries to kill a literal toddler with zero remorse and is stopped by the good lad Frobo, who gets brutally destroyed in like half a second. Before Andreas tries to kill Polly again, only surviving because her legs grew at the last possible moment. Dude tried to kill a baby twice when she wasn't even doing anything to him.
These are winter boots.
Dude is an active threat for only 5 minutes at this point in the episode, and he's already killed someone. Rest in peace, Frobo. Hope you're salvageable, even if it's just making you a sentient toaster.
Hey, it's multigrain.
Polly zooms over to yoink the box, but unfortunately, Andres takes advantage of everyone being distracted by legs and freaking yoinks Sprig, giving the characters an ultimatum. Put the fucking box back on the pedestal powering the nuke gun castle, or
Arby's will dip this in buffalo sauce.
Considering he's tried to kill a baby twice in the last couple minutes, we know for a fact that this claim is not bullshit. Luckily, he's giving the characters a choice in the matter, and they obviously choose to put the box back in order to save Sprig from—
That's the thing about friends, isn't it?
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, Andreas starts monologuing while a character is in a dangerous situation. This will only end well. From that earlier scene where Andreas explains a bit about his origins and motivations, we find out that he was essentially betrayed by those he considered his friends. 2 currently unknown characters. Around this time, the music box was stolen by someone Andreas very obviously considered a friend. This betrayal hard-coded a hatred to friendships into his brain, obviously. Just further into the deep end, man. Good choice. So when Anne ultimately agrees to do what Andrias wants to keep Sprig safe, Anne explains that Sprig is basically the best friend in any dimension she's ever had. This causes the memories of Andrias' old friends to resurface and obviously influence the decision he makes next.
The more you love them, the more it hurts when they go. Allow me to demonstrate.
Yeah, this is the saddest scene in the show so far, at least for me. I mentioned this numerous times in the last review, but the whole Spran dynamic is honestly amazing. This is one of the best platonic friendship dynamics I've seen in a show ever. Sprig and Anne honestly complement each other so well and ultimately bring out the best in each other. Throughout the show, we watch this friendship grow and develop. We see them go from absolute strangers to best friends over the course of the 6 to 7 months Anne spends in Amphibia. And this scene, the scene where it appears Sprig is going to die, is where the emotional weight of the whole dynamic is felt. This scene is actually foreshadowed throughout the episode.
Because when we're together, nothing can stand in our way.
No. Wait.
Ready for one last adventure? Spran against the world.
Wait.
Anne obviously starts to get extremely emotional over what the fuck just happened, as her eyes start to glow and the music begins to pick up. I love that the want to save her friends is what caused the gem to not get charged all the way earlier. And that's ultimately what is about to save our ass. That is fucking perfect. Anne transforms into what some people in the community are currently dubbing the Super Saiyan form. Honestly, perfect name. A form which, design-wise, is really fucking cool. The process the creators went through to perfect this design is honestly amazing. They have a whole spreadsheet of all the ideas they had for how this form should look, and they ultimately decide to settle on the look that's the callback to her beta design. That is so fucking cool. The music continues to grow as the transformation takes place. A soundtrack that's the perfect combination of sorrow and beauty, as well as utilizing the no big deal motif. This scene is literal perfection, and the fighting hasn't even started. Since Sprig was dropped, Anne has been completely silent. This is clearly a level of pain she has yet to experience in her life. 6 months. 6 months of growing and bonding with Sprig. 6 months of happiness suddenly ripped away from her from this colossal asshole. 6 months of commitment to the first true friendship she's experienced in her entire life. All that pain summarized in one perfect line.
Give him...
Anne was angry at Sasha earlier in the episode, but the level of rage Anne feels here literally caused an anime-style transformation. After screaming one of the best lines in the show, one of the most satisfying beatdowns in existence takes place.
Let's watch my favorite part again, shall we?
The animation absolutely pops off here. This fight scene may be short, but almost every single second of it is incredible. The fucking music, the animation, the storytelling, all of it just lines up perfectly for this fucking scene. More of Andrias' arsenal is revealed in this fight even, and it gets completely fucking blown away by Anne's power.
Give him back.
What a fucking line, and what a perfect scene. Sprig shows back up revealing Marcy and her bird, the Chad Joe Sparrow, caught him, so honestly things are looking great for our characters now. Marcy fiddles with the music box out of Andrias' view to create a fucking portal back to Earth. Ultimately what our goal for the whole show has been at this point. Getting back to Earth. What a fucking turn for the better this last minute took, huh? Sprig is okay, Polly grew her legs, Andrias is significantly beaten up, a portal to Earth is made, and Sasha is keeping Andrias busy. Nothing can possibly stop us from... So, let's talk about Marcy in this episode specifically. I saved this section for the end of True Colors for a reason, because holy shit, there's a lot to cover. As much as Reunion was about diving into Sasha's character, True Colors is about diving into Marcy's character. The episode opened up with another flashback. It was a completely fun and chill flashback. Hey look, at the Bill Cipher cameo, haha, what could go wrong?
You guys are ruining my life!
Oh. This single scene completely adds an entirely new perspective on every other scene Marcy has been in at this point. Marcy's whole character ultimately revolves around one thing: escapism.
I'd rather be free.
Only a couple minutes into the episode, Marcy makes this more obvious with the line,
What an amazing adventure. Almost makes you wish it could last forever, huh?
Red flags here!
All the constant RPG references, all the fantasy references she's been making, were not because she's a fun, quirky person. It's a fucking coping mechanism. Even when she meets the planters and randomly guesses that they took Anon, she says,
Oh, I love the found family trope.
these are not people to her. They're a fucking trope in this fantasy game she stumbled into. Everything is. Once Andreas reveals he's a giant asshole, Marcy quickly objects that this wasn't the plan they made, and yeah, Andreas fucking played her like a fiddle.
Well, I guess that's what you get for pouring your heart out to me over Flipward.
Marcy begins to have an actual emotional breakdown to all the characters, giving more context to the flashback we saw earlier in the episode, as well as adding more layers to the tragedy her character is quickly downward spiraling into right now, all while Andreas is parading a fucking smile in the background. It's revealed that Marcy got all three of them trapped in Amphibia on purpose and on accident at the same time. She had no idea the music box would work, but she did also read the book with information on it at the beginning of the episode, and decided that she'd give it a try regardless. All in a last-ditch effort to not lose her friends, because Marmar reveals that her family was originally planning to move away.
Bye-bye!
Marcy was ultimately trapped in her fantasy obsession more considering when the music box was used. She was landed right in the middle of Newtopia, and given royal treatment no less. She had no struggles at all like Anne and Sasha. She was given quite literally everything, and it fueled the fire of her fantasy obsession to a legitimately damaging point, causing her to have her breakdown in this episode when the illusion of the fantasy is finally broken. Even in past episodes, you see the illusions start to crack slightly, like when Anne and Sasha are arguing in the dinner. And Marcy is literally trying everything in her power to get the arguing to stop.
We're supposed to be friends for life.
With the reveal that Marcy essentially caused all of this to happen, Anne and Sasha feel betrayed, and everything just continues to fall apart from there. In the attempt Marcy made to keep her friends, she ultimately lost them in the end, because she just had to keep the illusion going forever.
I just didn't want to be alone.
Despite everything being her fault, Marcy desperately tries to force Anne and Sasha to look at the positives of this experience as she's literally crying her eyes out.
Look at Sprig! I gave you this! I gave you everything!
This line, this single fucking line, shows truly how far into the illusion Marcy has thrown herself. This line is such a desperate attempt from her to try to not lose anymore. She's become so paranoid about confronting the reality of everything that she's trying to justify trapping them in another dimension away from their families and their lives on Earth. I mean, Sasha doesn't seem to care.
Maybe I don't want to go home and rule a school. Maybe I want to stay here and rule a kingdom.
But I know for a goddamn fact Anne sure as hell cares.
Right now, I would give anything just to hear her singing.
After her breakdown, Marcy spends the rest of the episode making up for everything she's done. She drops her loyalty to Andreas in a fucking heartbeat and helps everyone in the battle against this monster, going to save Sprig from certain death after he's dropped, and of course, making the portal back to Earth. Now that Marcy has officially betrayed Andreas, Andreas does without a doubt something I never thought I'd see in a fucking Disney cartoon.
I just need to...
Straight up stabs a child through the heart, no fake out, no bullshit, actual full-on murder.
Now look what you've made me do.
I hate you! I hate you!
And her final words as she falls to the ground are just so fucking tragic.
I'm sorry for everything.
Another reminder that this network made this unholy abomination. This isn't just dark, it's just fucked up. We'll go over what this scene fucking caused soon, obviously, but name another cartoon on a children's network that went this far. I dare you. Yeah, Steven Universe had some stabbing in it, but they avoid all the brutality of it thanks to the poofing. We literally see Marcy's eyes roll to the back of her head as her body falls to the ground.
Fall.
Okay.
And in all honesty, I don't think any of this brutality would have stayed if it wasn't for the following.
There's a leak in the boat!
So yeah, for those unaware, True Colors was initially delayed about a day or two before its initial release. Why? We don't know, but considering what was added to the episode's official release, it's obviously why it was delayed. However, Disney appeared to have overlooked the scheduled iTunes release the episode had, and thus, the giant leak fiasco started. Yeah, good old Matt Braley was understandably fucking pissed when he found out that this episode got leaked.
You dense, irritating miniature beast of burden!
And after all the buildup, yeah, who can blame him? This fiasco caused Amphibia to finally get some fucking recognition. Guess it takes Disney treating a show badly for people to give a shit. Huh. I mean, hell, look at what happened with the Owl House and DuckTales. Yikes. But hey, as a giant Amphibia stan, it was really freaking cool to see everyone talking about Amphibia for once. While it still hurts how overshadowed Amphibia gets by other shows, moments like these make me truly happy because my stance from the previous video still stands. This show is criminally underrated. But yeah, in case it wasn't obvious, the scene of Marcy getting fully fucking stabbed is why the episode was delayed.
Oh, what a concept!
But with the leak on iTunes happening, the episode is out there in the world now. The stars somehow aligned in a way to where the episode couldn't just simply be edited to remove the scene, because people just have access to it. So what did Disney do to compromise? Something surprising, actually. They simply just threw a content warning at the start of the episode, and left the whole episode intact, unedited.
You stabbed me.
Oh, and they also forced them to release the Season 3 intro way earlier to reveal that Marcy is alive, sorta, so children wouldn't get traumatized. But let's be real. Child or not, and seeing the intro immediately after or not is never gonna take away the feeling of horror and loss everyone felt the moment we heard that stabbing sound.
I just need to...
Oh! Can we address how huge this might be, though? Amphibia might have just unintentionally caused a big impact on the animation industry going forward because of this whole leak fiasco. Hypothetically, cartoons can just push the barrier of what's allowed now because the ability to just throw a content warning at the beginning of an episode is a thing now. You done good, Amphibia. You took one for the team. And hey, at least your final season wasn't crippled in the process of you pushing the limits. So that's neat. And since I mentioned the Season 3 intro, why don't we get into that a bit? Before any of you ask, no, I have not seen the trailer, I do not anticipate to, nor do I look at titles ahead of time. Just watch the reactions that'll inevitably be out. But holy fuck, I am beyond hype going into this show's third and final season. The whole status quo has been effectively flipped now that we're back on Earth. Usually when a show changes its status quo near the end of the show, it works out very well. And with how insane the story has become, I'm so fucking interested to see what direction the show could go now. There's so many routes the show can take. So many theories. Hell, we didn't even see Andrias' master in true colors outside of that mural. We currently don't know anything about him. Marcy may be alive, but to what extent, and why did Andrias feel the need to keep her around? What the hell is gonna happen to Sasha, cause she's still in Amphibia too? I am so invested in every aspect of the show right now, and I'm so fucking excited to see what they do in Season 3. Amphibia has, without question, become one of my favorite shows ever thanks to the great lengths and effort that was put into this season. This is the season that caused me to become a stan for the show. Experience this show has honestly been amazing, and I can't wait to see what great heights this show continues to reach. My stance still stands that the show deserves a lot more attention because honestly, people are just missing out at this point. Okay, also, dear Lord, how long have I been talking now? An hour and 50 minutes? Jesus Christ. Okay, I don't know how to do a proper outro for this, so... in conclusion, Frog good, Stan Marcy woo. That's all the time I've got. I've got to go play Deltarune Chapter 2. See y'all in Season 3.
I have to protect you, like I always do, just like back home.
But we're not back home, Anne. And I've been doing just fine by myself.
Woke up in utopia.